I got at least maybe 12 to 15 people hit by this vehicle. Hey boys, who needs to be in them? Do we have them route? Bourbon and Iberville, I have at least 6 casualties. I have an officer doing chest compressions on one. I have another white male that's got agonal breathing in the 200 block, multiple casualties.
All right, y'all, we got an update in this whole New Orleans situation. Listen to me quick, because it's a small one, but it's important. Apparently, this guy had plans to do this for months. He joined ISIS back in the summertime, okay? His first idea, they said, from the FBI agents that have been talking about it, they said that his first idea was to do it to his family. Why? I don't know. He said the reason he didn't do it to his family because of what the headlines would say. They wouldn't get the mission and they wouldn't understand why he did it. That's his words, not mine. Another thing, apparently this is something that's been going on and it's more than just him. They looking for a couple of people. They calling them a terrorist. Okay? I think it's 3 men and 1 woman. That's something the ratio is. If I'm off, I'm sorry, y'all. Please don't crucify me. But they looking for them in New Orleans as well. We all know about the beep beeps that was put around the area. I'm getting inboxes. I don't know how true this is, but it's a couple of people that have inboxed me saying that other cities are being made aware that it's beep beeps being found in their areas too, but it has not been on any news articles. I want to tell y'all that first. That has not been claimed on any news articles yet, but I'm telling y'all what I hear because the people who have been in my inbox told me, listen, just let the people know this. You ain't got to say that it's been on the news or nothing like that because I couldn't find it. I'm not going to lie. If y'all know something, inbox me, let me know, or send me an article if y'all know. Now, this is the main part that got me kind of worried, okay? Apparently, he posted on social media from about 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock because y'all know they say he drove that truck from Texas, all the way from North Texas to New Orleans. He was mad for real. He drove that truck all the way over there, and he was posting from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock right before the incident happened. What they said was it was 5 videos. The 5 videos, one of the main ones that stuck out was the one that he said he wanted to make sure that he started his mission to let people know that this is a war between the believers and the non-believers. That's the whole reason he started his mission. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I'm guessing the name Jabbar they coming up with is his real deal name before he converted to whatever he got going on. I'm gonna let y'all know what else we find out, y'all. This shit crazy, okay? I'm just here to bring y'all the news.
Investigators now believe the suspect in the deadly New Year's attack in New Orleans' French Quarter did not act alone. Video shows 3 men and a woman placing explosive devices near the site of the attack. Investigators have confirmed that pipe bombs found in the suspect's truck were wired to explode using a remote. Bomb technicians have already made 2 devices safe, but searches for more explosives are still happening in the French Quarter. Investigators are also looking into a location in North Houston that may be tied to the attack. A statement from local authorities said, "We have secured a perimeter in that area and are asking people to avoid it. This activity is related to the New Orleans attack." The suspect from Texas drove a pickup truck with Texas license plates during the attack. 10 to 15 victims have lost their lives, with at least 25 hospitalized, according to city officials. The final victim count is not yet available due to victims with critical injuries. 3 victims have been identified so far. An 18-year-old who had recently finished high school. She traveled to New Orleans with her cousin to celebrate the new year, but was hit by the truck while running from gunfire. A 37-year-old father of 2 from Baton Rouge. He was visiting New Orleans with his cousin, who survived the attack. Family members say he was a proud father and a kind person. A student from the University of Georgia was also critically injured, but their name has not yet been released. The attack happened in an area where safety barriers were not working. The barriers were being replaced for the upcoming Super Bowl. The suspect drove onto the sidewalk to get around a police car that was blocking the intersection. The 3 men and 1 woman seen in a video surveillance footage planting IEDs remain.
Something just doesn't sit right with me out here in New Orleans. Not with the way things went down. Because for one, we all know, everyone in the world knows, on New Year's Eve and Mardi Gras, New Orleans is one of the busiest places in the world. And they have blockades, barriers, to block off certain streets in the CBD area, which is downtown Bourbon Street area. And this particular night, so say the area he came through, the barriers were being worked on or whatnot. Why would you wait until New Year's not to have barriers? You could have done this weeks or months prior to this. But, say for instance, you did have to work on it. Where were the police cars to sit right there to make sure no one goes through? Doesn't sit well with me. I'm sorry, it's just my opinion. But I also am opinionated about the fact that after they pew him and they start searching his vehicle, they find what they say may be explosive devices in an ice chest or a cooler. And that doesn't sit well at all. Come on, y'all. Y'all start thinking to yourself, because why would you be just driving around with this stuff and you're not going to use it? Would you be driving around with it and then you want to get pew-pew just so people can see it and they go into a panic and a frenzy? If it was things like that in there, don't you think they would have drove to another street that you could drive through if the barriers were there and let it do its thing? A lot of this doesn't make sense, but I'm going to tell you something. To strike fear into the hearts of millions of people, it's very easy for this terrorist thing to start moving. Because the same night, that damn vehicle in front of Trump Tower, it catches on fire. The same night. But this also happened right before the Super Bowl out here. So now they prolonging that. Also saying now that there were 3 male suspects and a female suspect that they're looking for now that could possibly be affiliated with him. This all smells to me like another one of those things where the people are to panic and to get paranoid and start freaking out so that our government can step in and say, hey, we're here to save the day, but we're gonna push you all away for a little while we take care of what's going on. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, but I just can't trust a lot of things they do. And it's sad when all these people losing their lives. This is what's really killing me. People lose their lives for nonsense.
Last night they tried to get the French Quarters off the. So far they found 4 bombs in the French Quarter, 1 inside of the St. Louis Cathedral. They were all in ice chests. And the reason why the man went driving up Bourbon Street killing all those people is because the bomb detonator malfunctioned. It gotta be like 5 or 6 of them, because they either blew up or set on fire the Airbnb where these niggas were staying at. They're not done. It's dawning on me right now that they tried to get us off the. They tried to get us the fuck out of here last night, y'all. New Orleans, like what the fuck? Now, why are we in it? Why are we in it?
Hi, Americans. We have to ask ourselves a question right now, and this is very serious, and it's not something that we can blow off. You know, we've been very protected and out of our little safe haven over here in the United States. But today we see that we're now under attack and we don't know who. And so I want to ask you, who do you think it is? Because Just in the last 24 hours, we had so many different incidences that we must ask about. In New Orleans, we had a person that had been in the U.S. military, in the Army, from 2007 until 2020. This person worked for a major company in the United States and looked like an upstanding citizen, but he took a truck and drove it through a group of people who were just there to enjoy the New Year. And the sad part about it is not only were they just there for New Year's, but we had a bowl game that was supposed to take place tonight. And so those people who thought they were just there having a good time, we had 15 people who have lost their lives and over 35 people who were injured in that attack. And so we have to ask ourselves, who did it and why did they do it? And I just believe that it's more to this story, because the same thing or something very similar just happened also in Las Vegas, that a Tesla Cybertruck was parked in front of the Trump Tower Hotel. It's a great hotel. I've stayed there before myself. And that truck exploded. Now, we have to see, okay, it's a Trump Tower. It's a Tesla truck. Everybody knows that Elon Musk owns Tesla. So are they trying to give us a message so that Americans will not be secure with the election and the people that we voted for on November 5th? Are the people who have been in control for over 100 years, are they having a temper tantrum because the American people rejected them at the polls on November 5th? And so is this a payback situation where they are doing their own thing? You know, we have to ask this question. And not only that, we also saw that today they were having protests in New York City, pro-Palestinian protests. Now, any other time, these things would not have occurred in our country. So the reason I'm asking you, and I want all Americans to really, really think about this. I want you to think about, are these connected? And then we even had people today, I saw on social media sites, that people were saying there was a strange fog in Florida. We've also heard people talk about that in other countries as well. Then we also had some strange occurrences that happened in Houston as well. So now we have to ask, are the people who have been in power, the people that the American people, the American voters rejected on November 5th, are they now trying to make sure that we do not feel secure about our elections, or do we not feel secure about Donald Trump coming into office on January 20th? Are they doing everything that they can to make sure that either that doesn't happen or that the road before we get there is a very, very rough road? Remember, if you looked at any of my videos, I have been saying this ever since the election. Do not think that these people are going to go away and they are going to just say, okay, we lost. They're not the type of people to do that, because they're usually not the type of people to lose. The only reason they lost is because the American people said, we're tired. We are tired of you using our tax dollars at your own discretion. We're tired of us working to death and you all getting to be multimillionaires and billionaires off of our work as we continue to pay exorbitant taxes on everything. We're tired. And so Americans gave them that message on November 5th that we wanted a change. So are they now showing us what their power can do? Anyway, I just want to ask that question, and it's something that you should think about. And those people, please don't try to defend them, because the people that truck ran over, those people, they didn't ask what political party they belonged to. They probably didn't even look to see what race they were. They didn't look to see what gender they were, or there anything about them that usually separates us. The attacks were on Americans, and I want to know, what do you think about it? Was it intentional, or was it something that is an orchestrated attack on the American people because people were not happy that the American people said we needed change? And we said that in our elections on November 5th. Anyway, let me know what you think.
Really just starting to hit me that they were actually going to blow up all of Bourbon Street. They were going to kill thousands of people last night, you guys. This wasn't just something where they were going to take out a few people. They wanted to kill massive amounts of people. Bourbon Street is lit during New Year's Eve. That whole entire area is always completely freaking packed. They had 4 different bombs that were placed all down Bourbon Street on top of the bombs that he had inside of his truck. They were literally trying to execute a ton of Americans all at.
Okay, y'all, so I got an update on the guy who did the attack in New Orleans. So evidently this guy have a series of recordings that the police and the law enforcement are now going over. They saying that the guy was divorced. He was divorced twice. So he even talks about that in the series. So while he was making these recordings on his way to Louisiana, of course it was pitch black. You can't see him, but you could just hear what he's saying. So I don't know if the guy had suffered with PTSD, but I'm quite sure this man he planned this attack on New Orleans, like why he chose this city just to come to. I don't know. Assuming that the crowd was big, that's what I'm thinking. And he also lists in the videos that he had joined ISIS. And he dreamed on joining ISIS. So I guess later on the news will let us know what's more to come and what happened with the recordings in the series that he made on his way here. Now, mind you, when y'all do hear the recordings, if y'all get a hold of the recordings, you won't be able to see him. But they're saying due to it being dark when he was driving here, that's when he made the recordings. They don't know how long ago the recordings were made, but they just think it had to be made at nighttime. But y'all stay safe and stay out the way. Keep God first. Bye, y'all.
New Orleans is known for a lot of voodoo, 𝒲𝒶𝓎, and witchcraft. Bourbon Street is a place that people go to fulfill the desires of their flesh, such as fornication, drinking, smoking, and partying. And the reason why we see so much violence in certain cities and states in this world, that's because principalities known as demons rule over them. You can find that in Daniel 10, verse 13, that there are some places in this world that principalities have been given dominion over, that demons have dominion over. Look at Chicago, Florida, New Orleans. Some of the cities that we live in can have principalities ruling over them. That's why we need the blood of Christ so that we can be covered and no evil can overcome us or overtake us. Where sin is, demonic spirits also dwells there. This is true. Sin is like a gateway for demonic spirits. It's almost like an invitation. Demons feed from sin. It's like a sweet aroma to them. How living a pleasing life to the Lord is a sweet aroma to them. The prayer of a righteous person is like a sweet aroma to the Lord. A sinful lifestyle is like a sweet aroma to demons, to the devil, to Satan. It's so sad that people love their sin so much that they're willing to risk their lives for a little moment of pleasure. People still talking about how they finna go hit up Bourbon Street on Mardi Gras. You ain't that bored. You don't love sin that much. Stuff like this happen all the time on Bourbon Street. People get killed all the time. But something like this was just different. But remember, the reason why we see the increase of wickedness and violence and evil so much in certain cities, states, and countries in this world is because principalities, demons have been given authority. They have been given dominion over them. They rule over them. You can find it in Daniel 10, verse 13.
The way some authorities responded to the attack in New Orleans is actually crazy. Like, you have the chief of police of the city being like, oh, this is so sad. But on the bright side, the victims were mostly local, so to all the tourists in the area, there's so much you can still enjoy about our beautiful city. Did you hear that the Super Bowl quarterfinals are coming up? And why did it take so long to declare this event an act of terror, even when that's so clearly what it is? Among other reasons, because the city didn't want to scare tourists. With the exception of Hawaii, there are very few places in the United States that actually have tourism as a primary driver of their economy, which is why we rarely tend to see this kind of perverse prioritization up close and personal. People come and sample the culture of largely Black Creole residents, but then when any sort of violence or hazard breaks out, it is those very same people who make that city what it is, who are the last to be thought of. Over a dozen of your community members dead, and you're thinking about how many tourism dollars you're going to lose out on? Never let it be said that Louisiana has done right by its constituents.
There's two things going on. One, you have ISIS, which is on the run. Only about 1,700 to 1,900 fighters still remaining there in Syria, taking heavy hits from HTS as well as for the Syrian Democrat forces. They're being squeezed by CTS in Iraq as well as for American soft forces. And their recruitment efforts have dwindled massively. Now you've got Iran. Iran has been hit and pinched on all areas. They're no longer around the Syria area. Hassan Nasrallah of Lebanon has now been eliminated by the IDF. Sinwar of Hamas has been obliterated and killed by IDF. And now you have where they're going to be refocusing, reconcentrating all of their efforts and resources. We know we have President Trump coming in. They want to cause fear. They want to cause panic. But I think that what we're seeing as well is over 4+ years, we've had millions of people cross our borders. We know there's sleeper cells in our area. We know they're easily activated. And I think that what you're seeing now is a desperation for both ISIS and Iran to refocus and reconstitute its efforts to try and potentially go after targets here in the U.S.
You know, all of that makes a ton of sense. And we know there's a terrorist connection here. And you know, if you would have asked me this morning, I would say it's fairly obvious. There were IEDs in the area. The ISIS flag was very visible. It was right there on the back of his truck. And look, I understand you want to be cautious with information. I get that. I was press secretary during COVID-19. You have to be cautious. But why wasn't the FBI cautious in saying this? I want to play this from this morning. They were very clear that they could rule one thing out at 6 a.m. local time.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if this is a viable device or not.
Why say that categorically when you had to correct yourself about an hour or so later?
Well, again, I can't wait to get confirmed Pete Hegseth, the 𝒲𝒶𝓎-𝒯ℛ𝒰 Patel there in the FBI, and Tulsi Gabbard at ODNI. That's going to clean up a lot of this mess, because I can tell you this is absolutely a terrorist attack and probably one of many. I wouldn't be surprised either if the symbolism of the Tesla truck blowing up in front of the Trump Tower wasn't somehow tied in on this as a way to try and intimidate and or threat President Trump. So what I would say is this: we need to determine whether or not this individual, bin Jabbar, did in fact go into Mexico 2 days ago. What that could tell us is that there's potentially a joint operational center of sorts with ISIS or with other terrorist factions in Mexico who are commanding and giving activation orders. And so we need to start thinking about where the ties are. We need to start looking at how they were activated in extremism as become a prevalent manner, and then also what the motive was behind this. But I can tell you, this was absolutely a terrorist attack, and to rule that out by the FBI is foolish.
Yeah, and you know, we know that that truck at one point back in November was in the Eagle Pass area. It changed hands. We don't know much about Jabbar's movements yet. We know he's from Texas. We'll follow those. Absolutely key to this. I want to play a witness statement. This is an 18-year-old who was there last night. It is chilling, and if you have children, you may want to move them out of the room right now because this is hard to hear. Listen to this.
The truck hits the corner and comes barreling through people, throwing people like a movie scene, like real life, throwing people into the air, they falling under the car, all that. A good friend of mine actually passed away from getting hit by it. Moving people out of the way to try to find her. I'm saying, nah, like, where is she? And I turned my head, and it's her in the street, just leaking blood, and I knew. The aftermath was really what got me, like, bodies all up and down the street, everybody screaming and hollering.
Congressman, how does someone who served in the Army for a decade, honorably discharged, go from that to killing 15 people, including that young man's friend?
Well, first, my thoughts and prayers and condolences to the 15 families who are having to hear this horrible news to start out the new year. You know, a lot of times these individuals become radicalized over a period of time through various online sites, through going in and thinking that what they had done, or looking at Afghanistan, or looking at other sympathetic means. I think that's where we need to be digging into, one, the forensics of what he was doing in his computer and online manner. Was this something the FBI was already tracking? Was he already on a watch list? But what we know is this. You know as well as I do, Kaylee, over 4 years, we've had hundreds and hundreds who have been caught who are known terrorist outliers. We know that that's only the ones that were caught, not the thousands who've gotten through. And that's why President Trump is so big on securing our borders borders and guaranteeing the safety and security and increase in national security. That's why Michael Waltz, the National Security Advisor, has been warning about the open borders, Iran, ISIS, the ties that we have with China, Russia, and North Korea. This is important for us to focus on, but we have to start understanding how the movement of terrorist organizations and sleeper cells are operating in the United States.
Without a doubt, Congressman, and boy, that new administration can't come soon enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kaylee.
Well, the biggest question on investigators' minds tonight is whether the New Year's Eve attack, an attacker acted alone. They seem to think the answer to that is no.
We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every lead, including those.
I have updates for you guys on both the New Orleans attack and the attack on Trump Tower in Las Vegas. Let's start with New Orleans. Apparently, 𝒲𝒏 was staying at an Airbnb that was about a mile away from Bourbon Street. Now, that Airbnb mysteriously caught fire at around 5:30 in the morning. It really probably wasn't mysterious. After extinguishing it, they were able to recover materials that are used in making explosive devices. Now, back in Houston, authorities in armored vehicles rolled up to the home where 𝒲𝒏 lived. Now, apparently there was a man who was shirtless. He immediately surrendered, put his hands above his head, and he was taken into custody. Now, at this point in time, it is unknown if he is connected to the attacks that happened last night. Now, President Biden has confirmed that authorities are looking into the attacks and seeing if there's a connection between what happened in New Orleans and what happened at Trump Tower in Las Vegas. Now, here's where things start to get really interesting, because apparently the Cybertruck that exploded in front of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas was also rented through the Turo app. It was rented in Colorado and driven there. And inside that truck was fireworks-style mortars, camping fuel, and gasoline canisters. And for those who might not know, a Cybertruck is electric. You do not need gas. They also know that that truck rolled into Vegas around 7:30 in the morning, spent the next hour driving up and down the strip before pulling into the valet area at the Trump Hotel and then exploding. We have not identified the person driving that truck yet, but as soon as we have that information, I will definitely be back on to let you know.
We have more developing news coming out on the attacks that took place in New Orleans, and now there are warnings coming out in the Houston, Texas area as well. Let's take a look at these headlines with me. Surveillance video captured showing 3 men and a woman placing explosives in connection with the New Orleans attacks. They're saying they believe that this was a sleeper cell, that this was not a sole individual doing this alone. Take a look. Live updates. Officials said they do not believe that the suspect who rammed into the New Year's revelers was solely responsible for the attacks. There are more people involved. The warnings are coming out right now. I'm going to be sharing with you the video footage and take a look. New Orleans suspect had ISIS flag on his truck that plowed through the New Year's crowd. They're saying they believe that he could be directly tied to ISIS. Now, this has not officially been confirmed, but I'm going to be sharing with you what they are saying so far. And take a look at this as well. Now, this just coming out a little while ago for the Houston area. It says FBI Houston and the Harris County Sheriff's Office are currently conducting law enforcement activity near the intersection of Hugh Road and Crescent Peak Drive in North Houston. We have secured a perimeter in that area and are asking people to avoid the area. FBI Houston personnel and specialized teams will be on site for several hours. This activity is related to this morning's New Orleans attacks, but due to the ongoing nature of the investigation, no further information can be provided. But they are now issuing out a warning to Houston. So 3 a.m. this morning, there was that attack that has been confirmed from a group in New Orleans. Then we saw something unfold today at Trump Tower in Las Vegas. Video footage has...
Both of the men that were behind the attacks yesterday have deep connections to each other. Both of these men, the one behind the Cybertruck Vegas outside Trump Tower attack and the man behind the New Orleans attack, both of them served in the U.S. Army. Their connection does not stop there. In 2012, they were both stationed in Fort Bragg together. Both of the cars yesterday that were used to carry out the acts of violence were rented through the Turo app. Turo is essentially the Airbnb of car renting. You can rent out your own car, and the cars that were used yesterday were both rented out through the Turo app. Now, there are a lot of people in the U.S. Army. There's a lot of people that are stationed at Fort Bragg, and there are also a lot of people that use the Turo app. But to have all of that and then also carry out what they carried out yesterday on the same day in separate cities, it doesn't. I just ran the numbers. It doesn't add up. And we all know Rule 18 of Jack Mack's life rules. Coincidences don't exist. Coinky dinks don't exist. And it's also worth noting On top of all of this, Ryan Ruth, the individual that was arrested for trying to assassinate Donald Trump on his golf course in Florida, visited Fort Bragg 147 times over the past 4 years, staying overnight on 29 occasions. I don't like that one bit.
He's an Army vet, lives in Houston, real estate agent, property manager. Things are really, really not adding up now. My mind is, did you guys see on Fox News that they said that there was more potential people involved, and then they walked it back real quick, like somebody said something in the ear, and they completely were like, but none of that's been verified. And then there's devices that were found all over New Orleans. This doesn't add up at all. It's not making any sense. What do you guys think?
Like around 3:15, everybody just chilling, we having a good time, music playing and all that. A truck, I didn't know it was a Ford F-150, I thought it was like a Yukon or something. A truck hits the corner and comes barreling through people, throwing people like a movie scene, like real life, throwing people into the air, they falling under the car, all that. And a good friend of mine actually passed away from getting hit by it. And you know the little divots in the wall just like this? So this is what a lot of people jumped into to get away from the truck. But yeah, so after it gets past us, the guy, I didn't know it was a terrorist, but the guy ends up getting out and shooting people. Like he had ARs and bombs and all that, man. But the aftermath was really what got me. Like bodies all up and down the street. Everybody screaming and hollering. You look down, you see somebody doing CPR. You look around, people crying on the floor. Like brains matter all over the ground. And yeah, it really hurt me to see like one of my closest friends like that. So we ran one way, so like about 5 feet away from the curb, and we ran into the bar to be protected by the little divot. And I'm supposing I could have sworn she was behind me, but now that I'm doing the math, it's seeming like she ran a different direction. But I was assuming she was behind me. So when I ran into there, her cousin was also with me. Her best friend was also with me. So I saw her, and then I'm moving people out of the way to try and find her because she's quite small. So I'm moving people out of the way to try to find her. I'm saying, nah, like, where is she? And I turn my head, and it's her in the street, just leaking blood, and I knew. She looked peaceful though. I'm glad she went peacefully, you know. Oh, she was about to go to college actually in about 2 weeks. About to go to college. She works at a hospital making good money right now, but she wanted to be an RN, a travel nurse. So we were at the bar, the Desires, and hit her and flung her like at least 30 feet. And yeah, man, I was lucky to be alive. I'm lucky to be alive right now. This is my first time being in the Bourbon, by the way. So, like, insane first experience. I'll never come back. Like, you won't ever see me again. But I think it was Desires or some along right across from Voodoo Chicken. So yeah, we were right across from there, and then everything started to unfold. It was insane, man. Like the real closest thing to a war zone I've ever seen. True.
Good evening. I'm 𝒲𝒶𝓎-𝒯ℛ𝒰𝒯ℋ, property manager with Blue Meadow Properties and team lead at the Midas Group at Core Realty. I just want to say hello and let you know a little bit about me. So I'm born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and now live in Houston. And I've been here all my life. with the exception of traveling for the military, where I spent 10 years as a human resources specialist and IT specialist, where I learned the meaning of great service and what it means to be responsive and take everything seriously, dotting I's and crossing T's to make sure that things go off without a hitch. So I've taken those skills and applied them to my career as a real estate agent, where I feel like what really sets me apart from other agents is my ability to be able to, one, be a fierce negotiator. So not only do I brilliantly market your property to make sure it gets sold as quickly as possible or gets leased as quickly as possible, but I'm also going to take every ounce of energy and put it into negotiating for you and for your property to get the best deal that you can possibly get for it. So once we get to the closing table, all the I's are going to be dotted, all the T's are going to be crossed, everything's going to go off without a hitch, and that is my word that I'm giving to you as your real estate.